Hey guys, this is T Rose. Welcome to another edition of the Saints Game Talk podcast with myself, G-Man, Sam Robb, and T Rose. Sam Robb, also known as Daddy Sam. So guys, training camp is here. So, starting with you, Daddy Sam, what are your general feelings on this inaugural season under Dennis Allen and maybe about a third of a new staff or about a half of a new staff?
A little bit of apprehension, but I'm chalk that up to just everything being so new and not knowing what to expect. We've had an unprecedented period of stability and success in the organization, and it was definitely different for us. Being fans from late 60s, early 70s, to year after year be able to count on the fact that your team is going to be in the conversation at least, if not in contention,
right?
And because of the changes, and I go back a couple of years, we lose a Hall of Fame quarterback, and we lose a Hall of Fame coach the next year. There's some things to question. How is it going to be? There's nothing particular that's given me apprehension, but just the fact that there's been a change, and there are times when, for instance, Peyton ran into difficulties, but he always figured his way out of it, and you could always count on him figuring his way out of it. I remember the year after, his second year here, after they had gone to the championship game in his inaugural season. They started 0-4. And I remember seeing an interview with Peyton. He was in his car, he was driving, he was very calm, answering questions. The reporter was hitting him with some really pointed questions. He was just going, "No, we see the things we're doing wrong and where we're deficient and what's wrong, and we're gonna work our way out of it." That ended up being, I believe, a 79 season, but it didn't turn into a catastrophe. And different times along the way, he's just figured his way out of it. And we have to see how Dennis Allen will work his way through adversity. So I feel good about the draft picks. I feel, pretty good about the free agency. I feel good about our players. It takes a full picture, though, to really win in the NFL. And so I'm a little bit apprehensive, but I think we'll be okay.
Pike, what's your take going into this this training camp, this 2022 edition of the New Orleans Saints?
I'm a little anxious, but we're gonna get back to Dennis Allen. Is my first thing in how he's gonna put his stamp on his team. Like Sam said, how he's gonna handle adversity, which I'm not worried about that too much because he had that stint down there with the Raiders. So, but is he gonna continue to have the top 5 defense? My next thing with the Saints going into training camp is Pete Carmichael. What's the difference going to be between him and Sean Payton, since he's going to take over play calling duties, and how he's going to incorporate Jarvis Landry, the new wide receiver that they drafted, hopefully a healthy Thomas, Kamara, so forth and so on. My third thing is the defense. Are they going to continue to develop? Is Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May going to make a difference on this team? My next thing is Jameis Winston. What Jameis Winston are we going to get? Are we going to get the Jameis Winston that was firing on all cylinders before he got hurt? Or we're going to get a version of Tampa Bay? I'm kind of thinking we're going to get that version that was firing all cylinders. Because from what I've been reading and seeing, I think he's more anxious than me to get the season started.
Okay.
And finally, and not last, is the Kamara factor. What's going to happen with him? I'm starting to believe that he may not get suspended this year. I think that might carry on into the following season.
Because
I hope I'm right that we won't have to deal with what's going to happen if Kamara is not playing.
And would that be because of the judicial aspects of that case playing out? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. I just think it's going to, with appeals and everything, I just think it may, I think that the NFL just might wait till everything is settled before they make a decision on that. And that'll be good for us.
It's almost as if they owe us one from all the years that they screwed us, man.
There's a whole lot of more than one. There's a whole lot of one. And as far as the draft goes, I'm anxious to see if we're going to have, it's the first time the Saints took two players in the same draft since I think the Lattimore and Ramchick. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping we get a Lattimore Ramchick draft as opposed to that draft we got with Larry Burton and the other gentleman. I can't think his name right now.
Was it a Kurt Schumacher? Was it an offensive lineman or what? Do you remember?
I don't remember offhand.
But that was like probably the 75 draft.
It was Larry Burton and Kurt Schumacher. You got it right.
Oh, okay. Wow. Boom. There you go. So
I'm
guys,
hoping we got another hit like we got with Ramchick and Lattimore with these two guys.
Okay.
Olave, I'm thinking pronouncing it right, and Penny.
Olave. Yeah. Hey, I got some breaking news, man. Julio Jones signed with the Bucks.
Yep, I heard that.
Is that gonna affect us in any way?
I think the thing that worries me about that is not just Julio the amazing as we saw in Atlanta, because I think he's probably lost a little bit of that edge. But what does concern me is Julio hooking up with Brady. Because Brady is going to figure out what he can still do and use him to do that. And he's going to do it well, and he's going to make the most of Julio Jones. Of all the places Julio could have gone, this is probably the best because they have an established receiving core there. He can play a fit-in role, and just do certain little things that he could still do at this age with the knowledge he has on him, and with his ability. I'm not talking trash about him, but his abilities have diminished from 5-6 years ago, and that's what happens. But you got a guy like that who you only need to play in a limited capacity, and you have a guy like Brady who is experienced and smart enough to figure out exactly what to do, can still do, and do well, and just use him for that. And so I think that is going to be a big impact on their roster. Okay. We're not going to see the Julio Jones from Atlanta, but we'll see an effective player.
Gotcha. I mean, if that's your third or your fourth option,
right.
in an offense. So
now, do you feel more comfortable that we have a better defensive backfield now?
Oh yeah. I do. As far as game stuff, and I guess that's what you're asking to, is how it will impact us. But I think the Saints defense will figure out a way to handle them and make it. But it's a season long thing, and we're competing with them for the division. And so I just think in crunch time over the season, not necessarily just against the Saints, but that Julio will probably be called upon to make some plays, that are well within his abilities as they exist today. And I think that they're going to figure that out. and that's probably going to win them a couple of games during the season, and that in turn will impact us because we're going to have to win that many more games to win the division. That's kind of, I feel comfortable with our DB stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a short answer. I'm not worried about him.
I tell you what's interesting. I watched the interview with Malcolm Jenkins with Rich Eisen a couple of days ago, and Eisen brought up the point that the Saints were 4-1 against Brady over the last 2 seasons, and Jenkins said that the Saints were built to beat Brady because of the matchups, because he had Gronk, and then you usually had Marshawn on what's the tall Evans, yeah,
Evans.
They always fight, and then they had C.D. Deuce on AB or whoever was in the slot, and then you had the rookie or whoever else on usually the third receiver, and so he said just the matchups that we have with those guys, that's why we've been beating Brady and the Bucs, because we know how to deter what they like to do. So that's interesting. So
because the Saints, even when Brady was with New England, the Saints played him because they put that you got to pressure Brady up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep him in the pocket and pressure him up the middle. You got to put a hat on him. I noticed that Brady, now he may win more than he lose, but that's been already established. But when you put that hat on him consistently, you don't have to sack him.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to be around his feet, or you need to be into him. And I think that's where your chances go up exponentially with him.
And speaking of putting a hat on, what do you guys think about the black helmets coming this year?
I like it. Something different.
Okay. And what about you?
Yeah, I've been wanting to see that for a while. I like it, but you know what I would really like to see, the throwback that I love the most, is the black and gold, the black jerseys with the gold and white stripes on the sleeve. The 1968, I believe.
67, 68.
Or maybe it's 67. Yeah,
I think it's 67.
With the strange, with a actually not but a more defined gold than the pants they wear, than the togs they wear now. The
almost like an
togs
old
they wear
gold.
now, right. The togs they wear now look more like khaki.
Oh, you're looking for the inaugural suits, then, huh?
Right.
Yeah, that's the 67.
I love that, and I love to see that with the black helmet. I tell you, Now look, I love the white color rush, but I don't look at that as a throwback uniform.
Right.
But yeah, that black and gold. I remember some years back they played the Texans in a shootout game here, and they wore those throwbacks, the black and gold, the 67s, I'll call them. And it was just, we started out kind of slow in that game, but I was just mesmerized. I'm like, man, that just looks incredible.
It really did.
But yeah, I do like I like that they put the black helmet in the rotation there.
Gotcha. So let's move a little bit and talk about some individual positions. In a previous conversation, Sam, you had actually said something that you said this might surprise us. You said that you thought the receivers might be one of the strengths of the team. And
yeah.
And I was thinking that, man, because I was looking at the numbers of like the weakest guys of the last 2 years, which has been what's my guy named Smith. Traquan Smith.
Traquan, yeah.
Smith.
Traquan might not see the field.
Marquez. Yeah, exactly. And I tell you what, a lot of times, man, whenever a guy, especially a young guy, has a decent season or two or season and a half, and then he has a great drop, especially during the Peyton years, I'll always give him the benefit of the doubt because the Saints do such a great job of hiding injuries. And
Mm-hmm.
when you
Right,
get to the
right.
point when you had for the last 2 seasons, you had COVID and all this other stuff, and it was like every man on deck, where
Right,
in some
right.
in a normal season, you might have a situation where a guy may not even dress, but then when we get to this point where you got 15 guys in quarantine and all that kind of stuff, and then you're kind of putting guys, you're asking guys to make sacrifices of their bodies just so you have enough guys to get out there. So all of that kind of mixed in. But Pipe, how do you feel about Sam's?
Let me just say about the receivers, the part that impacted that made impact with me is I started naming receivers, and we got we'll have, let's assume we're gonna have Mike back. Mm-hmm. We got Jarvis Landry. Mm-hmm. There's Callaway there, who played pretty good. There's Deontay Hardy, used to be Deontay Harris. I think those are the top 4, receivers on the team. And, you had Callaway playing the number 1 spot, being covered by a number 1 corner. Now, Callaway might be, he might have been a little bit ahead, developing pretty decently, but he wasn't ready to be,
number 1.
Deal with a number 1 corner, and so that was something that I think even inhibited his contributions last year. So you put him against the number 3. And all of a sudden you might see a lot more production, and you add that to Mike Thomas being number 1 and Jarvis Landry being there, and then of course there's Olave. So
absolutely.
Now you start talking about all those guys, and I'm like, okay, well, Traquan didn't exactly step up, although I take your point. Your point is well taken about the way they hide injuries and kind of, well, I won't say hide injuries, but, just keep it quiet.
Right.
And don't talk about it, which is not, and they do that, I think, for a number of reasons. One, to throw off the opponent, but number 2, it also works inside of your locker room. If you're not constantly talking about injuries, then maybe it's not as big a factor to the team. So that's kind of where I see it.
Gotcha. Pipe, what do you think about that assessment that the receivers are going to be straight? And look, one name you didn't mention who might play a significant, even if it's limited, but a significant role is Deontay Hardy.
I thought I did mention it.
Okay, you did. So I'm not a fan of small guys. Heavy usage. That was the problem with Brandon Cooks. They drafted him in the position of a number 1, but he really wasn't a number 1. He's a slot guy, or he's a luxury item, meaning that he's not going to catch 11 balls every game. He's kind of like a home run.
He's not going to be a possession. Yeah, exactly. He's gonna blow the top off the defense.
He's a Ferrari. Yeah. You bring it out maybe once or twice a month. You don't drive it every day. Pipe, what's your take on the wide receiver pool this season?
I like the room. A lot of talent in the room. As far as you were talking about Traquan Smith, kind of durability been a question with him, and a lot of times he caught some balls we thought he should have had. I mean, he missed some balls we thought he should have caught. It's staying on the field is one of the issues with him. I like the room. Deontay Hardy, I think he's a sleeper, and I think it really gonna depends on what kind of production we get out of Olave, what he brings to the team. Anxious to see if Michael Thomas still gonna have that swagger when he gets back. I've seen a couple of what Sam was talking about earlier with him, running routes and running. That's to me. I think that's the biggest concern, and he's right now. He's on a pup list with Marcus Davenport.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think maybe that's just cautious, being cautious with him.
Mm-hmm.
Some players I found through the years don't really need training camp,
Mm-hmm.
and I think maybe they may be playing that with him, keeping him to get started in the season, and then keeping him motivated too by not going out there and getting no, off the cuff type injury. But I like the room. I like Callaway. A lot of the young guys they picked up. Jarvis Landry, he's going to be an X factor if he plays like he's played over the past years, which I think he's going to be motivated to play, especially being at home.
And that's the guy that we miss, man. That glue guy, that Lance Moore. I can't even think of some of the other names over the years. A guy that's just going to catch.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That guy that's just going to catch third downs. He's not going to, he might catch 7 or 8. He might exactly. He might catch.
I think Jarvis Landry is going to be that next
glue guy. Yeah.
That next generation Lance Moore for us.
He might he might only score 5 to 7 times, but the play, those first downs and moving chains and red zone plays, most of those touchdowns are going to be at times when we really need them. So outside of the quarterback and Jameis, the biggest concern, and maybe even the running backs, is the outside of the running backs and the quarterback, the biggest concern might be the offensive line. So, Pipe, what's your take on the offensive line, and how do you feel going into the season with the depth and the people that we've got right now?
It's gonna depend on the body they drafted. Penning, is it Penning or Pennington? Penning.
It is
Trevor Penning.
Trevor Penning. It'll depend on his development. What's gonna happen with Pete? If they could try to pull something out of Ruiz. Ruiz.
They just signed a veteran center from, I think, Oakland. Saints. Yeah, they made a bevy of roster moves right before training camp. I'm trying to look for the guy's name. His last name is Victor. I'm sorry, Nick Martin. Nick Martin from the.
I'm not familiar with him.
29-year-old younger brother of standout Dallas Cowboy guard Zach Martin, and a former second round draft pick by Texas. Yeah, started all 65. Started all 65 games he appeared in, including 3 playoff games. So
but I think the offensive line is going to be okay. We may see some trying days with that. My biggest concern is what's going to happen with this tight end position, to be honest with you.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I've been talking about all off season. I'm like,
you've been talking about that for about the last 2.5, 3 seasons.
Yeah, my biggest concern is tight end. I was kind of somewhat excited to see Nick Vannett get signed, but he really didn't pan out to be that special.
Now, was he a free agent, or was he came from another team? Okay.
Signed him last year. He was a free agent.
Gotcha.
He kind of was a disappointment. I know he got hurt. I don't know what's going to happen with Taysom at tight end. I like the young man they put, Jawan Johnson.
Yeah, long, lanky 83.
Yeah, will he be the answer? I mean, who knows? Yeah, no, Vannett is the tight end. I just think they should have went out and, I was hoping for a drafted tight end. I know they signed a guy, free agent, undrafted free agent tight end. But I'm really was hoping. I mean, hopefully maybe they might make a move, during before the season starts and bring somebody in here or something.
So we've got some breaking news. I don't know if you guys heard, but Tyrann Mathieu has been excused from the start of Saints training camp. What do you think? What do you make of that? Anything?
Well, that could be anything. I mean, that could be, his moving truck got delayed or something, and he got to handle some family business. Yeah, and they're not gonna give you too much info, So it could. I'll just if he's not there. Yeah, if he's not there a week from now, then I'll be like, what's going on?
Right.
But as far as the offensive line goes, I think that's going to be. I think it's going to be a problem area. It's gone from a strength to a problem. We're missing our All-Pro Teron Olmstead, playing in Minnesota now. 51 Ruiz is going to have to play, but it's not looking too good. From like I said, I gave him a pass on the rookie season because of no OTAs, abbreviated training camp, no preseason games, and boom, he started. But he had off season and the full camp last year, and he still really had some problems, in here. So that's what Pete is always kind of, sometimes suspect, sometimes he's well, but he's not as consistent as, and certainly not as spectacular as like a Helen Armstead. Now, Eric McCoy has played very well at center, and Ramczyk has played very well at right tackle. But you got to wonder if we have enough there. That's a real concern, and along with tight end. What I figured out during the Peyton years is that the more weapons, the better, because Breeze used to spread it around and get everybody involved, and that seemed to work well for the offense. And I don't think we necessarily have a tight end. Well, we certainly don't have a proven tight end who can get in and produce. So,
right. My area of concern, I mean, it's a reach. Other than the, number one, wondering what's up with Jameis, and I believe in him until he shows me otherwise. I think he's matured. I don't think he's there yet. And other than the offensive line, I'm not gonna say concerned, but linebackers on my radar because we don't have Quan as of now. They still hadn't offered him anything, and we're going into this deal. We've signed a couple of veteran linebackers. Some guys who got some years in the pro or whatever. So that's the thing, because right now we're starting DeMario Davis, Pete Werner, and Zach Bond. And I just haven't seen it from Werner and Bond consistently yet. So this training camp is going to be where they're going to make their, where they're going to earn their stripes, I think.
I'm gonna put it like this. I feel real. I'm got the same concerns you got with the linebackers. I get it. I'm kind of disappointed they hadn't made that move with Quan. Still kind of up in the air with the Werner. But I'm gonna tell you, man, DeMario Davis is a beast, and I don't think he get his just due from the NFL. I just saw a list of the 10 best linebackers, highest rated linebackers last week, I think it was, I was reading, and he wasn't even on that list, and I think that's a travesty.
Man, you NFL writers, y'all, it's a doggone shame, man. Y'all need to stop it. This man is a complete dog, and has been since he's been in the Saints. I didn't really follow him before when he was with the Jets, but that's ridiculous, man. It's almost kind of like the Marcus Colston, all those years and all that productivity, and not one.
Mario Davis is
Bowl.
a football player, man. He just, one series, he was the whole series.
I've seen a couple of series like that, man, where he's, even if he's not making the tackle, he's making an impact on the play, being in position and forcing, someone for other guys to make tackles for loss and no gain and all that stuff. And he's just, I think right now he's the heartbeat of that defense.
Yeah. As long as he in that linebacker room, I feel good.
Amen. Amen. So
Yeah. Now, I would say about the linebackers, I'm not nearly as optimistic about Werner as they seem to be.
mhm.
I seem to hear a lot more hype about how Werner's going to play than actually seeing Werner play that way.
Mhm.
Look, he's a young player, still developing. He may come out and really play well, but if you're telling me we're counting on him playing as well as Quan Alexander played the last couple of years outside his injury, I don't see that's in the cards. I just don't. I never saw it with a couple others, Anzalone in particular. For years we've been bringing in linebackers that just hadn't worked out. We went and got Denario from the Jets, and that worked out for us. But yeah, one is just the latest in a long line of those who I look at and I say, yeah, okay, he looks like a decent athlete. I don't know how good a pro linebacker he is.
And so
maybe the Jets got another linebacker we could go get since we got Vilma from them.
Exactly. Check it out. That's our linebacker youth.
The Jets. And look, hopefully safety you too this year. Get Mays.
Yeah. But I like May. May gonna surprise y'all.
Okay. I'm saying, it's hard when you're looking at the highlights because that's all you're looking at. You're looking at the best players.
Safety is a very difficult position, even when you're doing the all 22s, because it's one step in the open field can make a difference, and then most of the times you're not going to see them unless you're watching all 22s. So,
I absolutely hated losing Marcus Williams, and I think he's going to a great situation in Baltimore, where he may he's going to do well over there.
Right.
Because he could cover that 50 yards, man, in a flash.
Yeah, that was the thing I liked, and then also too, he was athletic, man, because a lot of times on his picks, man, he got a lot of great yards on return yards. So guys, before we wrap up, I want to ask you guys, what do you think is the chemistry of this team and this coaching staff going into this year from the information that you've had access to?
Oh man, I think that there's going to be a lot of carryover with chemistry from Peyton, of course, but your head coach is always a big deal in that. And how does Dennis fit in? Now, part of the reason I think the three of us wanted Dennis as the successor to Sean was continuity.
And you guys called it when we talked about this before the hire. I think both of you guys picked Vic Allen. So we're going to see, if that all works out. His stint in Oakland does bother me a little bit because it was a complete flame out. Mm-hmm. Now I realize that situation was difficult for a lot of reasons. Yeah, it was messy.
But it still happens. I'm optimistic because he did come in and stabilize and improve that defense. So much so that it was near the top of the league last year, and something we come to count on. In fact, we went from being known for our offense to being known as a team that will hit you and hurt you and put you down. We don't have to score 40 to win anymore. So,
and one of the things I loved about Sean Payton's teams over the 16 years that he was here is that they were built to play against any kind of team. Kind of like the Pelicans or certain basketball teams. Where regardless of, because I think the great teams, what they do is that they're looking at who's the top teams that they're going to be competing against, and then they're looking at how to beat those teams.
Yep, they go division, conference, then league. Who do we have to beat to win a division? Who do we have to beat to win the conference?
Yep.
And then But because if you don't get those right, don't have to worry about anything else.
So guys, before we leave, I want to ask you about our Saints OG of this episode, and it is Hall of Fame inductee to be Sam Mills. Sam Mills was a 5'9" 3/4" middle linebacker who played 12 seasons in the NFL for the New Orleans Saints and Carolina Panthers. He also played 3 seasons for the United States Football League with the Philadelphia/Baltimore Stars and won 2 championships in 1984 and 1985. During Mills' 12 seasons in the NFL, he recorded 1,319 tackles, 20.5 sacks, 11 interceptions, and 4 touchdowns while starting 173 of 180 games he participated in. Mills was named to the NFL All-Pro team 3 times in 1991, 92, and 96. Mills earned 5 Pro Bowl appearances in 87, 88, 91, 92, all with the Saints, and in 1996 with the Panthers. Mills grew up in Long Branch, New Jersey, and attended high school at Long Branch High School, where he was a standout football player and wrestler. Although considered a great athlete in high school, Mills' 5'9" frame did not interest college scouts. Mills attended college at Montclair State College and made the football squad as a walk-on. Mills played there from 1977 to 1980, where he is the all-time leader in career tackles with 501, tackles in a season 142, and tackles in a game 22. He was a 3-time first-team All-Star and was named the New Jersey Collegiate Writers Defensive Player of the Year for 3 straight seasons from 1978 to 1980. After college, his Pop Warner football coach was able to get Mills invited to the Cleveland Browns training camp in 1981. His coach told Browns coach Sam Rutigliano that Mills was the best linebacker he'd ever seen play the game. While Rutigliano admired Mills, he didn't think he had the size to play in the NFL and cut him. Conventional wisdom at the time held that middle linebackers had to be at least 6 feet tall to see over opposing offensive linemen and scan the field. Rutigliano actually liked what he saw of Mills in camp and called an old friend, Carl Peterson, general manager of the Philadelphia Stars in the USFL, and suggested that he give Mills a look. Mills made his reputation at the Stars' first training camp. As Peterson recalled later years, he just lit it up. He became known as the field mouse for his devastating speed, and as Peterson put it, he was a mouse running around a field of elephants, but the elephants wanted nothing to do with him. In his 3 years with the Stars, Mills became one of the anchors of the Stars' feared doghouse defense. During that time, he became known around the league for both his tenacity on the field and his leadership off of it. Mills led the Stars to 2 USFL championships. He was named to 3 All-USFL teams and is a member of the USFL's all-time team. He has been described as arguably the best defensive player, along with Reggie White, in the short history of the league. After the Stars won the '85 USFL title, head coach Jim Mora signed on to coach the New Orleans Saints, and Mills followed his mentor. During his tenure with the Saints, starting in '86, Mills was the anchor of the vaunted Dome Patrol linebacking corps that led a ferocious Saints defense in the early 1990s. It was considered to be among the most formidable 3-4 defenses in the NFL. As a unit, all 4 players were on the Saints roster for 7 seasons, from 1986 to 1992, and the players combined for 18 Pro Bowls while with the team. All 4 linebackers were invited to the Pro Bowl in 1992, the only time in the history of the NFL that 4 linebackers from the same team have made a Pro Bowl together. Mora, who coached 15 seasons in the NFL, called Mills the best player I ever coached. Mills became a free agent at the end of the '94 NFL season. The expansion Carolina Panthers offered him a 2-year, $2.8 million deal. While New Orleans matched the offer, Mills was displeased that the Saints did not make an offer until the Panthers forced their hand, so he opted to sign with the Panthers. Mills became a veteran leader for the young team, the only player to start every game during the Panthers' first 3 seasons. In a 1995 game against the New York Jets, Mills stepped in front of a Bubby Brister shovel pass and took it 36 yards for a touchdown, sealing the Panthers' first win in franchise history. His career rebirth gave him a 5th Pro Bowl appearance in 1996. At the age of 37, he retired after the following season. He then became a defensive coaching assistant for the Panthers in 1998 before being promoted to linebackers coach in '99. In August 2003, Mills was diagnosed with intestinal cancer. Though he was told he only had a few months to live, he underwent chemotherapy and radiation and continued to coach. He was an inspirational force in the Panthers' postseason run to Super Bowl 38. His plea to keep pounding in an emotional speech before the Panthers' victory over the Dallas Cowboys later became the name of a fund to sponsor cancer research programs and an official team slogan. He continued to coach the team until dying from cancer complications on April 18, 2005. After retiring from play, Mills was inducted into the Carolina Panthers Hall of Honor and the New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame in 1998. Mills' jersey number 51 was retired by the Panthers at the start of the 2005 NFL season, making it the first number the franchise retired. Mills was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2009, with his son Sam Mills III accepting the award on his father's behalf. Sam Mills III is currently the defensive line coach for the Washington Commanders. Mills was inducted to the Saints Ring of Honor in 2021. In 2022, Sam Mills was elected posthumously to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Saints OG of the Week, Sam Mills. Pike, what's your thoughts on Sam?
My thoughts on Sam.
Yes.
Number one, I think Sam should have never left New Orleans.
Amen.
Number two, I think the Saints should have been honored Sam Mills way before they did last season.
Word.
And three, I remember going to a lot of Saints games when Sam Mills and Pat Willing, Ricky Jackson, and me, Bones Johnson, was terrorizing teams. First time we had pro linebackers going into the Pro Bowl starting. I don't think that'll ever happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And he just was like Jim Morris said, best player he ever coached.
Mm-hmm.
The field mouse, he was special, man. He was special.
Sam, what's your thoughts on Sam going to the Hall of Fame this year?
That reminds me, of course, of the beginning of the Moore years, and when the USFL folded. Back that USFL, that version of USFL was not like this one. That one was a true competitor to the NFL, but in the spring. This one is more like a feeder league because the players are signing with NFL teams, but the league is still going on. We didn't get to sign USFL players until that league had folded because their contracts restricted them from playing both.
Right.
So you come in with Sam Mills, Vaughn Johnson, Bobby Hebert, the running back from McNeese State, who's Buford Jordan.
Antonio Gibson.
Antonio Gibson, yep. and a couple others, but we got a haul out of the USFL, and it was partly because Jim Mora had been in that league, had coached in I think he coached the Philadelphia Stars, and they won one. I think he coached in 2 of the 3 or all 3 of the games. He knew the league and he knew the players, and that those players for the most part with Bobby Hebert at quarterback, they formed kind of the crux of that team that was the first to achieve. So I associate Sam Mills with success, and the way he played. Being the height he was. Now he was stout, but not stout, but thick and wide and everything and strong. There was nothing weak about him. He was short, not small. And just the way he played, I'm not the biggest cat in the world. That's inspiring to me. To be the best player on the field at 5'9", 5'10", and playing in the middle of the field with all those giants, and it doesn't deter you. Heart like you've never seen, head like you've never seen, a man, a true, mature man who knew what he was supposed to do, and he went out there and did it every time. And you can see his teammates looked to him, even Ricky, who was a leader as well, but because of Sam being the middle linebacker, the guy who called, he deferred in a way to Sam for the good of the team, okay? And the point is that Sam was the kind of man that you didn't mind deferring to because you knew y'all were all going in the right direction. And I'm so happy to see him being honored and recognized, not as much as he should. And I really wish he would have stayed completely associated with the Saints, but that's okay. I'm still so happy to see that he's getting recognized and getting, as you said, the flowers he deserves.
I got a quick little Sam Mills story that's just from 2 years ago.
Okay.
I coach youth football out here, and got a little player on the team. We call him Downtown Brown. He's short, little fella. Hopefully he'll start growing. But he reminded me so much of Sam Mills because we had a game, and he basically made all the tackles. He was all over the field. And he was the shortest one on the field. So after the game, and I called him over, I say, dapped him up. I said, Brown, I want you to go home and Google Sam Mills. And when you come back to practice, you tell me what you think. And he came back to practice that Monday. We had a game that Saturday. And as soon as he saw me, he just had a smile on his face. He said, I know who Sam Mills is, Coach. I really know who Sam Mills is.
Exactly. Hey man, that's a great place for us to drop. Great episode. We're gonna be coming back to you guys very soon now that the season's in play. We're gonna try to bring you something every week. I'm T Rose, G-Man, and Sam Robb, our fearless panel. You guys have a great one.